again, please.
Okay.
I'm ready to record. Okay.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Jean Nicolai Olivieri. I am a full-time artist and I'm in my gallery in the third ward. And I'm going to share some of the history of the building and take you on a little gallery tour, and then we'll do a little art lesson. So I'm going to flip my camera around here. There's the flip button. Okay, so I'm going to just walk over to the door so you get the full view of the gallery. The Marshall Building is a historic building. We're always here for doors open. And you can see some pillars. The building was, they built it in 1906, and in 1974, it became an art hub, and it has stayed that way ever since. So I'm just showing you some of my work. I represent other artists as well. This painting is from a series I did about power lines. I love to paint the telephone poles and make them beautiful. I feel like power lines are something we overlook. And the idea of the background of this, with all the reflection, I don't know what you can see, but the painting itself goes from a very dark wash on top to light at the bottom. And the entire thing was painted blue, and then the building and everything else painted over. So it has that tone underneath. These are bowls, end grain bowls by Scott Boris, who's a Waukesha artist. And I just picked him up. I've been representing him since the holidays. And I love this building. I never want to be, pardon me?
What are the bowls made of?
Different woods. This is box elder. And it's end grain, meaning this is bark all the way around. So the tree went this way and he took out the wood and left the bark on the end. This is walnut. This I have to check is hickory, and he does cutting boards as well. And oh, this is a beautiful piece in the window. I love this. And this is maple.
Huh.
So one of the things I love about this building is they take care of you. If you look at these pedestals, I needed some pedestals when I brought Scott into the gallery, and I mentioned it to the building, the head of maintenance for the building. He built these for me. He just showed up with these and said, will these work? I mean, just so outstanding. This artist is David Schaefer. I call David the king of texture. This is one of my favorite pieces in the gallery right now. You can see all the texture in this painting. It's amazing. But what's really kind of fun is when he does a piece like this or like this. And this is really cool. There's gold leaf, but if you turn it over, you can see he embellished it with nails. It's birch, a birch panel. It's oil paint with gold leaf and nails, little gold nails. And we collaborated on a painting once, and David, I did the first part, he did the second part, and my canvas came back with spray paint and nails, and it was just crazy. So it was fun. This artist is Stacy Lee Ullman. She takes old paint brushes and she sculpts faces. And actually, I have some more of her work over here. And she also uses old books and creates what she calls bookkeepers. So I think those are very fun. And Robert Zondag, whose artwork is on the back wall over here, loves to paint florals and ginger jars. And he also prints, he does lino cuts, and then he made these towels for the gallery. So, and one of my favorite things as well is the birdhouses. These are made from 60% upcycled materials. And I have one in the woods, and a bird started living in it. I saw him fly out today, or her. I carry a line of jewelry that's made from bicycle parts. Also recycled materials. You get a theme going on here. This is Becky Tesh, and she is an avid cyclist and yoga teacher, and her husband has a bike shop. So we end up with a lot of fun earrings and necklaces. We call this area our marketplace with lots of little things. This is one of my pieces. This is the Salt Flats in Utah. One of my favorite parts of this, first of all, you should know that no matter how hard I try to escape, I do end up with power lines in my paintings. And I love to do small buildings, like just geometric shapes. This is quite in the background, but I enjoyed kind of putting lights in the buildings. It actually is striated like this. If you've been to Salt Lake City, you know what I'm talking about, the Salt Flats. But I love, love, love this area. You can see what the watercolor has done. And that's an effect you don't get with anything else. So my first love is watercolor, but I do paint acrylics as well. And this is in Key West. And the house was actually white, but purple and orange complement each other so well that I couldn't resist. So I did this. And this is from a series I did about the Menominee Valley Marsh. I'm very interested in the valley and how it's been brought back to life. The viaducts, the runoff water is used to grow native plants. And I went to the marsh every day for 2 weeks and painted what I thought it would look like if I could do a cross section. So rainy days, muddy days, sunny days. And there are 3 pieces left out of the 15. And this is another Robert Zondag. And I do some abstract work. This is a series of 3. This series, there are 6 of them total, but I sold 3, is called Let the Light In. And I painted this during COVID. I lost both of my parents, one in February and my mom 3 weeks later in March. And I needed light in my life. And this is really about, I mean, if you look closely, you can see power lines, you can see telephone poles, but it's very abstract. There's rural landscape and then the shapes of city buildings. It's about letting the light in, and it's a painting for everybody. Sometimes we have to make our own light. We have to find light. And so there's like the very tangible power lines that provide us with light. And then there's the inner struggle to find light at a time that's been very dark. So this is, every 3 or 4 months, I create what I call a challenge piece. This was a challenge piece. I don't know if you can see all the detail. It's broken glass, and inside each little break are multiple colors. So it took a long time to create. It took about 2 months. And is everybody hearing me? Okay.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, just checking. Okay. I'm hearing conversation, so I wasn't sure.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
One of the places was unmuted, so I just muted them. I apologize.
Oh, okay. I don't mind. I just want to make sure.
I want to make sure it's clean, but yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So another challenge piece was this landscape. It's 5 feet by 3 feet, and it's painted. It's way up high, but this was, I don't know if I can zoom in on it. I can't. This was inspired by my television set going bonkers one night. And I said, you know, I'm going to paint that. And it took 5 years later, I finally did. And it was the beginning of another series. But I really love it. There is an idea of water. It reminds me of Hong Kong with the light show. And it was painted with teeny tiny buildings towards the water. And then in the back, you see monoliths, which is kind of the opposite of what would really happen. The buildings would recede, but I sure had fun with that. And I did a series of these, and these are the two that are left. But those little geometric shapes, it's not pixelated, it's just painted from the top down, and I put whatever I wanted in it. And I've carried that. It's been, oh, I've done a lot of work like that. If I go back here, you can see the shapes in between the power lines. There's some more pieces here, 5th Ward, Brady Street. And here again, we have this piece in particular. I'll show you because it does have that little checkerboard effect. That's what I call it. In fact, I think this piece is called checkerboard something. I can't remember. And this is a similar technique. This piece, to me, the spaces in between the power lines are like banners, you know, like do 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 do, the train is here. But all of these rectangles, the fluid transparent acrylic lets the lower layers come through. And there's so many rectangles and wonderful shapes that I just had to paint it. So, and I added a few for drama. So this is my studio. This is where I create and make a mess. And I didn't particularly clean up for you guys because then I wouldn't be able to find anything tomorrow. So this is a series I've created in vintage frames with convex glass. These are for Woodwalk Gallery in Door County. And I buy the frames, refurbish them, you know, if there are chips or little pieces that need to be repaired, I do that. And then I add, I paint what I think will look good in the frame. So I really love this. This was an interesting technique because I painted it with gouache and then I painted over the whole thing with India ink and then washed it off. And the paper is stained with the gouache, and then I go back in and paint with watercolor and gouache again. So it's time consuming, but really cool how it ends up. So these pieces will all go to Woodwalk tomorrow. So you get to see them tonight. Yay.
We got lucky.
Well, you know, I'm working on, there's a 5x5 canvas over on the wall back there, and I'm working on deciding what's going to go where and how I'm going to place things. That piece is going to take me probably 4 months to complete because I know it will, because I know myself. It'll be detailed. And I do collections. I do different things. This was part of a series called Are You Going to Wear That? Because I'm in the middle of Chichicastenango, the biggest market in Central America, beautiful hand woven fabrics. And then there's this guy with an Aeropostale sweatshirt and his kicks and his khaki pants, out of university school. And then this again, the mother-daughter, the daughter's in a contemporary t-shirt and the mom is in her beautiful garb. And I could imagine the conversation, just like with my kids. Are you going to wear that? My kids have said that to me, and I have said that to them. So, and here are my palettes, what we're going to use. I'm showing you 2 of my palettes. You can see they're quite messy. Okay. The one with the little cups is the one I'll use tonight. And I have my glasses of water, my spray bottle, and my brushes, and paper towel and salt. So those are things that you should have. And like I said in my little intro paragraph that I sent you, or that Alexis did, you know, I've used plates out of my kitchen cabinet to paint, or a cookie sheet. So I'm going to just, these are the tools. I have a 1.5 inch wash brush, a number 10 brush. It's very worn and old, but I love it. I have a wax crayon, the paints, and the spray bottle, like I said. So we're gonna get going. And here's a 6x6 inch piece of paper. Now, I have to put this phone into a stand, and I have to angle it right so you can see my hands and the palette while I paint. So please bear with me while I do that. And do you have any questions while I'm doing this?
Sounds good. Yeah, I guess it's okay to unmute ourselves, right, guys? Because this is going to be hands-on session.
So
Up to you. I don't, it's, I don't mind questions while I do it.
It's a really simple question, but your gallery also is a showroom, right? So any of
Yes.
it, okay, all right. Because I mean, I was a little bit late. I was taking care of my nephews, but I can say I absolutely love what you've done so far. Like, I really like it.
Oh, thank you. Well, I appreciate that. I've been in this building for, let's see, about 8 years. And I absolutely love it. They really treat the artists well. It's quite an art hub. There are 20 some creative spaces here. And I started on the 3rd floor, and then I moved to the 6th floor. And 3 years ago, I moved to the 1st floor, and I started representing other artists. I have found it a bit of a struggle to find time to paint when I'm managing other people, but I met most of the folks through the Milwaukee Artist Resource Network, and some of them were involved in a mentor program. They were mentees, and so it's a pleasure for me to have them and give some of them their first opportunity to be in a gallery. And I have one artist who rents space from me, and that's Robert, the guy who paints florals and ginger jars. And so I'm always learning, and it's been a true joy. So thank you. And
I can really tell that through
if
your
you
work.
feel that you want to be muted, that's fine. But Alexis, if people have questions or comments, I'm happy to hear them. That's up to you.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm gonna flip this around.
I can really tell your
And-
personality through your works already. I can already, simplest that I just saw. I'm like, these stuff are absolutely, I'm trying to schedule probably time I'm gonna come visit because I'm
I
shocked
hope
at how.
you do.
Like,
I wish you
really
would. I mean, I love to have visitors. I do. And
Yeah, 'cause I know
it's
a
one
few
of the,
people that like you as well.
great.
Next
The
time.
more the merrier. I have wine. There's a bottle right back here somewhere.
I'll bring the glasses.
All right. Great. Okay, now I have to, there's my paper. I'm gonna put this in a clamp, and it's gonna take me a minute. So I do need, Alexis, I need your input
Yes,
on when
we
it's
will guide
in
you.
the right place.
Okay.
Let me
And
just
next
throw
time,
the
bring
phone
it to
at
my
you,
house. I'll
okay?
show these beautiful art pieces that I have purchased and was gifted by Jean, because Jean and I go back a while.
Yes.
I think this is good. Oh, well, you tell me when you're done and then we'll adjust.
Yeah, I have to get it clamped in, and I don't want to mess
Yeah,
with the
take your time.
volume, so. Okay. Boy,
Yeah.
it's being stubborn tonight.
Look for some art for my own house.
Hello?
We can hear you. It's all good.
Okay, let's see if I can,
This is good.
Um,
And, shift the, oh, this isn't better. Yep, whatever you just did. That's
Right
good.
there.
That's good.
is that good?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
We can see
all right, so the
water.
first thing I'm going to do, you should be really proud of me because I painted this table white. You know, I went over it. I have a hard time painting on a messy surface because I feel like the surrounding color interferes with me, with my brain. I'm taking the back of my paper and I'm painting it loosely with water because this is a 140-pound cold pressed Arche paper. It's made in France for over 400 years. But you see how the paper is curling up? This paper will buckle if you put paint on heavily. So now I'm going over the front and I'm going to wash. I'm taking my wash brush and I'm going back and forth. This is called a wash brush. Okay, it's very thin. And this is 1.5 inches. Some of you may have something smaller. 1 inch is fine. And I'm going to go down about this far. I'm leaving the bottom quarter dry. And we're going to experiment a little bit, but this is a demo, okay? And then I'm going to talk about how we get here. So I'm just going to pick a color out of our 4-color palette, and I'm going to go for yellow, okay? And I actually, I'm gonna spray that a little bit. Can you see me? This is my spray bottle, and I always activate my paint by spraying it. So I have the 4 colors we're gonna use, and you wanna activate it, and then the wash brush, you don't want big globs of paint. Okay, you can see that I've got some blobs on there, not a good thing. So I wanna do a wash. So I'm gonna go back and forth. Isn't that lovely? Ooh, yeah. And the idea for me is just, I'm gonna go down about this far. Okay, so then we have, this is dry right now, this bottom quarter. And here is our crayon. And I like that it has a point. And I'm just going to sketch in, this is gonna be water. So I'm just putting some lines in, and you'll see what they look like later. The crayon is a resist. So what you're gonna see next is I'm going to take some of the blue. And I want to activate that. Can you see what I'm doing here? Okay, and I'm going to create the water. This is French ultramarine. And the reason I picked this pigment is because it's very granular. That means it leaves a texture behind. So I'm going to go and slightly overlap the yellow. Okay, and then I'm going to paint over my crayon. And oh my goodness, I have waves. Okay, so I'm gonna tilt this up and over. I want the paint to be kind of even, but I'm now going to tilt this up a little. Can you see what I'm doing here? Okay, because I'm gonna have this painting paint itself a little bit. So we're gonna go this way, and now I'm gonna turn it this way. Oh my. Okay, let's see what we can do here. Can you see what I'm doing?
Yes.
Okay, the blue, okay, is kind of coming up. So I'm gonna roll my paper, and let me see if I can do it in a way that you can see. I'm rolling the paper, and do you see the blue kind of crawling up?
Yes.
Okay. And as it mixes with the green and with the yellow, what do you think will happen?
It becomes green.
It becomes green. Yes,
Yeah.
very basic. Art 101. So isn't that nice? I've got trees growing. And maybe I want to add some more yellow to the top. Okay, let's have a look. Can you see how nicely the landscape is coming? Okay, so I'm going to take my brush and clean it off again. I keep multiple jars of water because, you know, if I'm going to use the same brush, I've got to make sure to clean it. Now I'm going to add some yellow, and the paper is still wet. So I'm coming down. This is called wet into wet. So I'm just an exercise of wet into wet. And I'm going to let that yellow come down and interact with the trees. Okay. Oh, that's kind of fun. What did it do? The trees are moving into the background a little bit. And maybe they're growing. And then I'm thinking, okay, now, just so you know, okay, a little rule, the sky, and you should watch, the sky is always darker on top. Well, this is not darker on top. So I'm going to add some red. This is the Winsor red that we talked about. So I've already activated it. And I'm going to come across like this and come down a little bit. Okay.
Awesome.
So we've got our trees, we've got our water. Now, you may want to, on the horizon of Lake Michigan or the ocean, there's always a line. Okay, it's darker. So I have to wait to put that until this paint dries a little bit. But I'm liking the wave effects that I have. And I'm thinking I might want to add to my water effects. So I don't want those trees to go too much higher. I might have to bring them down just a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna open up my salt. This baggie of salt has been in this gallery. It's been with me for years. I must have really filled the whole container with salt. Okay, so I have, here we go. I'm just sprinkling a little. Now, salt is tricky. You have to know when to put it on. I'm putting it on a little early, but I'm just sprinkling a little salt. And maybe I'll put more on one side than on the other. Okay, and you'll see the effect of that soon. So once you see this, you might never drink a beverage with salt in it, and maybe not French fries either. Because the salt is going to suck up the pigment, and it's going to create some kind of star effects. Now I'm going to take this brush while we're waiting for the salt to work, and I'm going to go into my blue paint. And now this is a brush that can go, I'm going to show you on this little demo page over here. You can go this way, or you can create a fine line like this. This has a beautiful fine point. And this is just, I can't read what kind of brush this is because it's so old, but I think it's probably a Utrecht. I mean, look, I believe in fine brushes, but this is not a squirrel brush. This is not a fancy brush, but I just like it because it holds its point really well. And I'm going to kind of go in under these, and you can see how nicely it spreads. Yeah. And I can also go down here. I can do the whole thing with my brush. Maybe I want the whole thing to be a little more intense, and maybe just add some color down here, and it will catch under the, can you see that it's catching underneath the wax?
Yes.
Okay. And then I have my little, eventually I'll have a dark horizon line. Now, maybe I'm not happy with how the salt is going because I added more pigment. Maybe I would like the sky to look a little cloudy. So I'm taking my water squirter. Okay, and I'm just gonna, I'm adding texture. Can you see what it's doing? I'm gonna bring the camera in closer if I can. And then I'll have to adjust it again in a minute. Let's see if I can bring it down. Does that help? Can you see the texture in the sky? I can't see what you're seeing.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's going to take a little while for the salt to do its job, but it will, and you'll end up with some sparkly things. This is just, I may want to put a cloud or two in the sky too, just to show you how to do it. So I'm going to take a piece of paper towel. And here's my paper towel. And I'm just going to lift. I'm just folding it over. You know, people think you can't lift watercolor. You know, watercolor is very flexible. You can lift, you can scrub. I'm just adding a cloud. Okay. And if I didn't like how my wax worked and I wanted to put in a more defined line here, I could lift. You can take your brush, the one that's pointy, and I'm drying it off. You can't see because I'm out of the picture now, but okay, I'm getting a point, and I might want to lift. Can you see it lift?
Yes.
Okay. So, you know, you can lift in the sky. There are lots of things you can do to add texture. I don't like that this didn't go all the way to the edge, so I'm going to work on that. And the crayon can be more defined if you want it to be. That's kind of depends on what you're looking for. The trees, if you think they're going up too high, you can move the trees. If you want the sky darker, oh my God, I hate this sky. If you say that to yourself and you need to change it, well, maybe I want to add more red to my sky. maybe it's too, I'm feeling like I need red right now. I need red. Okay. So, you know, then you can go in and you can add a little yellow. I can take my other brush. I don't know if you can see when should I lift it up again now?
Yes, please.
How is that?
If we can
Can you
go
see it?
to the left to show your, yeah, we can see it, but just, and then back, a little bit back to see the bottom, or move, or shift the painting up a little bit.
Okay.
Yep, that's good.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna tighten it here. Okay, so now I got this cool red thing going on. I don't want it to look too much like a flag. So I'm gonna go back in and grab my yellow. And I'm gonna work up into it a little. And so now I may curl it up and bend it. You know, you can do a lot by rolling your paper. And maybe I want to, maybe it's too much, maybe I want to lift it, but I kind of would like to get some orange in there. Now, something that's interesting is, I mean, you can do a lot with your thumbprints, you know? Okay, so here's my water. The salt is starting to take effect. You can see the grainy nature of this paint. It's very granular. Not all pigments are granular like that. So it's, that blue is just, that's why I picked it, so that you could see what a grainy paint would be like. So I'm looking at this and I say, oh, gee, we have one more color we haven't used. So let me add a little bit of, maybe we have a beach. Now these two pigments, when they combine, create such a beautiful grain. That's the burnt sienna. And we can also make that come up a little bit, and it will blend in, and it'll take a little while, but it will. And then maybe there's a little bit up here. Maybe the water's a little muddy. You know, on the towards the shore, it can be quite muddy. And then we want to add our little horizon line. And I can see the salt is starting to work and create a nice texture. I could put a little bit more. It's tricky, the salt is tricky. And maybe the sand has a little bit of sparkle to it too. Okay, already we see the sky coming down. Isn't that beautiful? So fun. Sometimes you can end up with mountains in the background just by mistake.
Yeah.
I think the most wonderful thing about watercolor is the surprises. I never know how this is going to turn out. I never do. So it's fun for me to do a demo and say, ooh, this or that. And I like the fact that this has some orange to it, so I might mix a little. Now, this palette is about as messy as you can get. Okay, so I'm going to bring this over here, clean my brush. It's important that you clean your brush before you take from another color, because you could end up with a palette that looks like mine. And now I've got this beautiful orange, and I may add a little bit of orange into my burnt sienna and turn it into more of a quinacridone burnt orange type color. Okay. And at the very end, I'll add my line. Ooh, that's fun. So just some of the things you can do very loosely. And we're not painting masterpieces tonight, but we're experimenting. So, oh yeah.
Sheila has a question. Go ahead, Sheila. It's an open mic.
Yeah.
Hi, Jean. Sheila here.
Hi.
Tell me, you said that some of the paint is granular, not just the
Yes.
salt, but the paint before you
The
add the
paint
salt?
itself. Yes,
Okay.
no, there's no salt up here.
Okay. Tell me
Okay,
about the
so-
granular paint. It's still a
Well-
watercolor?
Yeah, it's what watercolor has a lot of different properties. So I chose two staining pigments, the Windsor red and Windsor yellow are what we call staining. They're harder to lift.
Okay.
A lot of people will only use transparent, non-staining colors. So we have staining, non-staining, transparent, granular, and opaque. So an example of an opaque, and I didn't use any because, but I will take some, okay, this is a cadmium orange that I'm mixing up on my tray. You can already see that it's much, it has a thicker, like more coverage. So if I were to go in here with this color, can you see how opaque that is?
Yeah.
Okay. So there are, I'm just gonna blend.
I
So
have no idea. I guess most people think of, when you think of watercolors, you think of the translucent,
yeah, layering. Yes.
but it's
Yeah, and
transparent, or it's not opaque. It's and it's not a staining. It's a, what did you call it again?
well, non-staining
Okay.
is,
Okay.
yeah. So there's like, I love Winsor Newton pigments, and I get their hand painted charts sometimes because the pigments are always changing. Daniel Smith has very vibrant pigments. They have a quinacridone burnt orange that is one of my favorite colors. It's more intense than the burnt sienna, but burnt sienna mixed with French ultramarine is very granular. There are, it like leaves a grainy texture behind. So, you might not need salt or, here's an example of salt that was applied at a really good time. See what it does? It almost, it adds like explosions to your piece. But this was painted with a different color of blue. So you can see how it's not grainy. Look at the difference between the two pigments.
So interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome. I mean, I like when people ask questions, and it's hard to remember your question later. Now I can take this and hold it at an angle. And if I felt like that was too strong, I can, okay, that created something nice. I mean, you can use your thumbprint to do some things. Maybe there's a rock. Oh, I think there's some rocks here. Oh yeah, there's a rocky space. Whatever. You can, you can take your paper towel and you can, your paper towel has texture on it. Oh, where's my gauze? I had a big piece of gauze here somewhere. Gauze is great because gauze will add a wonderful texture. Now I'm texturing the heck out of this. This is not going to be like my finest hour here with this, but it's just an example.
I don't know about you guys, but I want this piece. It's beautiful.
You what?
Fun.
I want it.
Well,
You can put a price on it.
fun. I mean, the whole idea is to loosen up and just be able to, it's called letting a watercolor paint itself, basically. And you're kind of moving it around and stirring. And okay, here's a piece of gauze. Let me take a piece of it. Somewhere in this land of mess, I have a scissors. Yes, I do. So gauze is great. It can create textures. I've used it to create baskets, all kinds of things. I'm just going to apply it here so that you can see what you can do with it. Okay. And then you can press it with a book, and later you can come back and take a look at what you did. You can add color to it. Already,
Wow.
this is a single layer, but I can, it will pick up pigment. So you may need to add more. Where's my yellow? I may want to add some in the little red.
Wow.
But we are playing tonight. So I'm going to let that dry on there, and then later I'll lift it and see what we came up with. I'm going to try to see if I can paint my horizon line here, and I'm using the same color blue, but it's a little bit thicker. And if you want it to look more natural, you can take your paper and let it drift across. And I'm going to show you in a minute a little some techniques for having colors move. So there's a lot of techniques on this one paper. And if I felt like it, I'd go back in and I'd put more paint and a little more salt because I don't feel like the salt effect came through here. Got put on too soon, but that's one. So this is a demo for you. And now I'm going to show you some brushstroke techniques and how to be fearless. And I hope you're doing this with your own brushes. Is anybody painting today?
Everyone is quiet.
Everyone is
They're muted.
quiet now. Come on, folks. We need to participate. That's okay.
We're getting
Painting.
inspired by you. I want to paint right now. I didn't plan
Yeah,
on doing
exactly,
it, but
right?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
inspiring me. I want to do it now.
Yes.
So that's good. That's good.
Think about it. For just a little bit of money, you have hours of entertainment, and there's so much you can do. So I'm going to go to another piece, and I'm going to just show some brushstroke techniques. And Alexis, you're going to have to cut me off because I will go on forever and ever and ever.
Oh, wait,
I will.
we still have
Oh.
time. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to get some clean water. Pardon me. So I get some water.
And this is not to take away from Jean whatsoever, but I believe that we
Pardon me?
all have an artist in ourselves. So it's
Well, I really do believe that art is kind of beaten out of us. I had a nun when I was in 4th grade. It sticks in my mind. I did what I thought was a beautiful painting of the Virgin Mary. And it was a thing where you got a picture and then you had to do a graph and then you had to, whatever, add color. And I used pink and purple. Now, my mother is an artist. My mother was an incredibly talented artist. And she was so upset because the nun told me that pink and purple were sinful colors and I should be ashamed of myself and it was no good. And my mother never went to school. She had 7 children. She didn't even make it to everyone's parent-teacher conference. They were all on the same night, but she went to school on that one. And I loved her for it.
good for her.
Yeah. Okay, so on this piece of paper, I'm going to talk about brush strokes. Okay, so I'm going to use this lovely granular blue. Can you see it?
Yes.
Mhm.
Do I need to let me know if I need
Nope.
to change the view here?
Great.
Okay, I feel like I need some more. Okay. This paintbrush is really great because I can use it for a wash. And in my work, I often use a graded wash. So I start at the top and I go over and I go like this. And then I keep going. And then all of a sudden I'm out of water. So then I might just add water, but you can see already some clouds forming. Okay. So I can go back and forth and it's darker at the top, just like the sky is. And then as I go down, I have less pigment on my brush. Now, my favorite thing that happens is that I always like to end up with no brush strokes. But if you look up here, can you see the graininess of the paint? Should I? Okay, already that's coming through. Lovely. Okay, that's a wash. I usually use a flat brush for my washes. Now I'm going to just paint with water. Okay, so I'm gonna paint some tree branches. And I can't hardly see them because okay. So I'm going to take my my red. No, I'll take the burnt sienna just for fun. Okay, I have to kind of angle this so I can see where maybe I have to take my glasses off and put my nose into the painting for a second. Okay, I'm touching.
Ooh.
I'm touching. And I'm touching the paint and just touching. Okay. And isn't it interesting how it's following the water? Wherever there's water, it's following. And I want to make sure I didn't miss any. So I'm going back in and I might add a little bit to this branch and these two kind of combined. So I'm adding. Okay, and I can add, see the fine point? I can add some more branches. Okay, but what's really cool is it follows the water. So now I want to add some shading to my tree. So am I going to go with brown? And this is also granular. Look at the burnt sienna, the grain. Now you can use a different weight of paper. I love a 300-pound paper. This is 140. I like cold press because it's got texture. Okay, now I'm going to say that my sun is coming from over here. It might be up here. So I've got some shadows to happen. They need to happen over here. Okay. Can you see what's happening?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I'm coming back down.
Wow.
And I'm coming over. And so this side is probably not right here in the sun. So I'm going to add some more there. And then we probably have something not in the sun here. So, okay. And then we have some areas where there is going to be light. So I'm just touching and look how the blue and the burnt sienna combine. Okay, suddenly my brown tree is turning kind of gray and just from those two colors. Is this cool or what?
Yes.
Nice.
And
very-
then, then I might add another color. And so I am very fond of orange. So maybe. Now, this is really neat because this formed kind of a little circle around this branch. So I'm a firm believer in using whatever tools you have available to add texture and do fun things. But really, water and 3 colors just painted a nice tree trunk and a few branches. And I didn't have to, you know, I could just turn the page a little bit and get the shadows. So there we have another kind of texture. And oh my goodness, I'm really happy with that little
Yes.
tree because yeah, how fun is that to paint in like 2 minutes?
You
Okay,
make
so
it
that's-
look so easy.
But it really is. It really is. These are simple little pieces, and
So you say.
you can do leaves for your branches by dragging your brush across. Now, I hesitate to do that while it's wet, but I'm not going to hesitate that much. So what do I need for leaves? Do we want green? We can do green. Okay, so I'm going to need to get a little more of this and a little more of my yellow. And I'm going to mix this right here on my table because I'm doing that.
Oh,
Okay, wow, even that, it even has texture on my table. Isn't that awesome? Now I can spread my brush. To do some dragging. I can just lightly go across, pick up some of the colors. You don't have to paint every little leaf. It would be pretty hard to go through and paint every single leaf, but you can add color. You know, I can make it a deeper green. And they're probably lighter on the top. You know, the tree is going to be lighter on the top. So you can take your flat brush, and I think this is probably what most of you, well, you haven't purchased materials, but so I can go with the smaller one and not feel guilty. Okay, so you can take your flat brush and you can kind of go around and
this is one of those less is more, right? Just a little bit of.
yeah, I mean, you don't need to paint every single branch. You know,
Oh, you-
it's fun to have things.
On your brush is just so little, right? And it does so much.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and we know that it's going to be lighter at the top. So we're just adding a little light at the top and a little dark down here. And you can go through, cover the branch. So, leafy ideas.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
All right, so I have other things I can show you if you're interested and if we still have time. I just don't know what time it is because my phone is being used.
I think we're
Mm.
wrapping up. I mean, it's 2 minutes to 8 right now.
Okay,
So
well,
this is
any
awesome, but it
questions?
leaves the room for many more sessions.
Yeah, it's fun.
It
Yeah.
is fun, and you know, I'm wondering where I put the painting with the little net on top of it. Oh, here it is.
Oh, yeah.
Let's take a look and see
Ooh.
if it worked at all. Because usually I let it dry because this was pretty wet. Nope, it didn't. It has to sit. I weighed it with a book or something. If you want to get the texture, I mean, there's a little bit in there, but not much. But you'll actually get, I mean, you can, if you look closely, you'll see a tiny, tiny bit of woven texture.
Yep.
But it's a lot more fun. Oh, I really don't like that. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Is that alcohol
You
in the
can get
bottle?
mountains, you can get.
Is
All
that
right,
alcohol in the bottle or water?
Water.
Water out.
Yeah, no, if I were doing like an acrylic pour, I would use alcohol, but not for, I mean, alcohol ink is a big thing right now. A lot of artists are using alcohol ink in their works. I don't like that blob of red. Okay, we're gonna show you one more little technique.
Is that a
Goodbye.
toothbrush?
Mhm.
Yes, it is.
Look at that.
I cut the top off.
Look at that.
Yeah. Because I just don't like what happened there. So, you know, obsess over a 2-minute painting. It's like, come on. So what you can end up with though, which is really fun, is you can end up with a mountain in the background. Can you see it forming?
Yeah.
And maybe the sky is a different color. So if I there's a little mountain range back there. and then my sky can become whatever I want it to. I can do my orangey red, or I can do, and it can come down and meet. So I can mix up a little orange up here. Oh, it's so nice to have a clean table.
I had no idea you could move the color around so much with watercolors.
Yeah. Okay, now look at what we have.
Oh,
Awesome.
Woo!
that's
All
good.
right. That works.
Thank you so much, Jean. Do you want to mention
You're welcome.
anything about your upcoming events? Anything as far as how we can find you?
Well, I'm at 207 East Buffalo Street. I'm on Instagram as J Nikolai Art. That's Nikolai. That's the name of my studio. And Gallery 207, but with the letter O, not a number O, because somebody got there first. So, yeah, unfortunately, not the best marketing decision I ever made, but the O is for Olivieri. That's what I tell myself. Yeah, and I'm here. I'm at Woodwalk Gallery in Door County, which is a fun trip. You've seen most of the pieces that I'll have up there, but if you want to see them in person, it's a fun trip.
Dean, what
I-
city is it in?
Egg Harbor,
Ah, okay,
Highway G and Egg Harbor.
nice. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take this off so I can actually say hi. Hi.
Hi. And I'm gonna
So-
move the spotlight so we can see each other.
Okay.
All of us.
Participant. How do I see? I'm trying to see how I see everybody, but on my phone, I don't know how to do it. More.
What?
Raise
On a phone,
hand.
you might
Nope.
swipe. On a phone, you might need to swipe to see everyone else.
Oh, is that how you do it?
Yes.
Ah, okay. I didn't even know
You
that.
are seen. Okay.
Yeah.
It says my microphone is unmuted. Okay, whatever that. I'm glad it's not muted. Because I've been talking all this time. Yeah, so anyway, this is, I have